You guys, God is so good and he is so real. There is not a single soul on this planet that can convince me otherwise. There is no one that convinced me that Jesus isn't still operating in his gifts, that he's not still working, that he's not still hearing, that he's not listening, that he's not operating in miracles daily. Like, no one can tell me otherwise, because there is countless testimonies and stories that I plan to share on here just to grow someone's faith, because it has grown my faith. So today I want to talk about a specific story. About 2 years ago, God told me he was going to save 3 people in my life. So far, he saved 2 of them, and I want to focus on one of them today because her story is so impactful that I truly believe it'll just encourage you. So when he told me he was going to save her, or whenever he told me he was going to save all of them, it meant so much to me because every single one of them played such a significant role in my life. They were all best friends in different areas and different times that I needed them to be. And so they truly meant so much to me. So there were moments when the enemy would try to creep in and try to actually steal this promise from me, or not steal this promise from me because he can't do that, but he would try to cause doubt so that I wouldn't believe it would happen. And so he would do it by putting thoughts in my mind saying, you're not good enough. How are you going to bring her to God? Or Jesus wasn't really speaking to you. You heard it wrong. You made that up in your thoughts. He's not even listening to you. Or all those nights that you cried out to God for them, like, they meant nothing. God can't hear. God can't listen. Why would he talk to you? You're such a sinner. She's not gonna get saved. And every single time I would hear that, I would literally identify who it was coming from. I would say, Satan, how did you get here? I would go to war in the spirit and I'd say, Satan, who allows you to speak to me, God's daughter? Because what I would do instead is I would hold and cling. When I tell you guys, cling onto God's promises, because he's not a liar. I would say, God is not a liar, Satan. So stop lying to me, trying to cause me to doubt, because I'm going to hold on to his promise, because it will come to pass. I don't care if it takes 10 years, it's going to happen. And so I just kept praying that. And every time I would rebuke the enemy, he would have to leave. He would leave so fast because he would know that he cannot come against God's word. And what God told me was that she will be saved. So I held on to that. So literally some time passed and I started to doubt. This time it wasn't the enemy's fault. It was my own flesh. And I was like, God, why has so much time passed? Like, why is she ignoring me? Because to be honest, I would text her asking her to come to church and she would just keep ignoring me. Like, she wouldn't even hear me out. And the enemy would like to use that, but it was honestly my flesh that was doubting this time. And so I prayed and I said, God, you know what? I cried and I said, God, you know what? I trust you and I'm tired of doubting this. I don't want the enemy to win. I don't want my flesh to win. The flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. So Spirit of God, come upon me and help me and give me courage and allow me to know when the time is right, if I'm supposed to reach out to her, or honestly, God. And then I started praying. I said, God, let her come to you. I said, God, draw her to you. Let her come to me wanting to come to church. And that's what she did. Literally a couple days after that prayer, she texted me and my friend saying that she missed us and wants to go to church. She's never told us she wanted to go to church before. What is happening? And so I was like, glory to God. And so I ran with that and I was like, yes, come to church with us this Sunday. And before the whole week of preparing for her to come, I start praying and I was like, God, you do signs for the unbelievers to believe in you, because it's miracles that grow our faith. And I wanted her to have a personal encounter with God so that she could realize that God is personal and wants a relationship with her. And so I prayed for a word and God gave me a word. He gave me the word giant. I could have stopped there and been like, hey girl, what does the word giant mean to you? But no, I knew God wanted to go deeper with it. So I said, God, why are you giving me the word giant? Who is the giant in her life? And he said her father. Keep in mind, I could never have known this. You would think I would have, considering we used to be like best friends, closest friends, but we didn't tell each other anything. I was the only person that would open up to her. She's the type of person that's very closed off and wouldn't share anything about her personal life. She always seemed good on the outside. She was very strong and could keep it in. She didn't need to tell anyone, or so she thought. She would just kind of like suffer internally, I guess. Honestly, looking back, it's very sad. But so then I questioned God again and I'm like, okay, I could stop at the word dad, or I could stop at her father being the giant in her life. But I went further and I said, why is her dad the giant in her life, God? And then he said it's because he's addicted to drugs. And I said, okay, what is the result of these drugs? What is it causing him to do? And he said it's causing him to abuse her family, especially her mother. And so then I was like, wow, this is heavy. This is a lot of information, and I want to make sure I didn't make any of this up. So I prayed. I'm like, God, I know I don't deserve it, and I should just trust you, but God, please give me a sign so that I can run with this, because I need confirmation. I'm struggling. I'm human. My flesh was weak in that moment, and I needed confirmation just to make sure, because I was still so new in this gift that he was having me operate in. And so then, sure enough, Sunday happens, the Sunday that she was gonna come to. It was like a day after this prayer, I believe. And we get to church, and the first song they play is a song from Elevation Worship, I believe. And it's like from their new album, where it says in the song, it's like, "Get this giant up out my face. You're not greater than my faith." And I was mind blown, because I've never heard them use that song at this church before, ever. And I've never even heard the word giant in a song at church. At least at our church, I've never heard it. This was a first. So I knew this wasn't a coincidence, and I was ready to run with this. So then afterwards, we go to my house, because I asked her if she's available, because I really wanted to kind of open up everything to her, because now that I knew that this was all true, I was going to run with it. So we get to my house, and I didn't want to unload everything on her. I was still very new to this, so I kind of wanted her to be the one to open up. I wanted her to, so I prayed, and I said, before all this happened, I knew in church that it was going to happen, so I prayed, and I was like, God, help her to open up. And that's what she did. So we get to my house, and I start them with the question. I'm like, guys, who's the giant in your life right now? Super random question, but I wanted us all to share. That way she could feel comfortable to go into it. So she shares, and she goes, the giant in my life is my dad. And I was like, I already knew that. And I even pulled up my phone for her, because the night that this all happened, or the night that God had told me this information, I asked him, and I said, why did you use the word giant? You could have just started off with her dad. Why'd you choose the word giant? And he told me it's because he's gonna do what he did in the story of David and Goliath. He's gonna sling the giant in her life. And so I thought that was powerful, so I wrote all of this down on my phone. So now, whenever I'm talking to my friend, and I'm telling her, I'm looking her in the eyes, and I'm saying, I already knew that. I already knew that your answer was going to be that, because God told me. And he also told me, I looked her in the eyes again, and I said, I even showed her the proof of my phone. Like, in the date, it had the date of when I wrote this down and everything, so that I couldn't just be making this up on the spot. Like, I wanted her to have no doubt that this was really happening. And so I'm showing her it, and I'm also telling her, I'm like, he has a drug addiction, doesn't he? And she goes, yeah, how'd you know that? And I go, and the result of it is it's causing him to abuse you, isn't he? Like, is he abusing your mom? And she goes, yeah, he's abusing all of us. And I go, yeah, God told me that. And she was mind blown. She starts crying and weeping, and I look her in the eyes, and I say, listen, God would have never told me this if he didn't intend to heal your family, and if he didn't intend to heal your father from this drug addiction. He is going to slay the giant in your life, which is your dad being addicted to drugs. He's going to completely take it away, and he's going to deliver your father, and you're all going to be a mighty warrior, a mighty family that is a warrior for Christ. And I just start prophesying over her. I'm sharing life over her for the first time. She's never heard anything like this. She literally has to stand up and walk around, because she is so mind blown that there's really a God who listens and that cares for her that much, that is willing to speak to her on a whole other level that she's never heard before. So it was so beautiful. And then it's even crazier. The week after that, she actually brings her mom and her brother to church, and her mom immediately grabs me, and she's crying, and she's like, you don't understand. The same week, last week, that you went to church with my daughter and you told her these words, I was actually at church as well for the first time on the other side of the world. I was traveling with my sister. I think she said it was her sister. She said she was traveling on the other side of the world. She went to church too, because she was so low that she needed God. She knew that she needed help from someone higher, so she went to church. And she said that, guess what the story was about that the preacher spoke on? The story of David and Goliath. What? What? God is so full circle, and he is so detailed. That's why he gave me the word giant. That's why he didn't just say her dad. He used the word giant so that her mom could be tied into the story as well, so that they both would want to give their life to Christ. And that's exactly what they did. They both gave their life to Jesus. And I was able to pull out my book. I write everything down in my book. Because when God told me 2 years ago that he was going to save 3 friends, I wrote it down in my journal, and I put their name in a little check box so that each time that they got saved, I could put a little check, just because it's so rewarding. So after all this happened, I bring my book to her, and I show her name, and she's mind blown that her name is on there, that God cares that much, that God wanted her that much. God literally, y'all, God will leave everything to seek you. He'll leave everything to win your heart. So I gave her the book, and I said, check off your name. It is done. It is finished. He did all the work on the cross for you. Just accept. And it was beautiful. So if you guys are praying for someone to get saved, hold on to God's promise. Hold on to it. And don't give up on them. It might take years, and it might take a day or a night. You never know. But God is working. He's listening to every cry that you shed for him. It's beautiful. You'll have a beautiful night. I love you all, and I'm praying for you all. Thank you. Good night.